Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sam. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips and tricks on how to get out of a reading slump. I also have some book recs and yeah, I have a lot here, a lot to talk about, and hopefully this will help you. I think as a reader, one of the worst things is getting into a reading slump because you want to be reading and you love reading, but for some reason things just aren't clicking with you the way they usually do. So yeah, I've got a lot of books here to share with you, hopefully some tips and tricks that may resonate with you and that might help you. So let's just get started. Now, number one might seem a little like, okay, why are you telling me this when I'm trying to get out of a reading slump? But tip number one is take a break. Just take a break. Put your Kindle down, put the book down, put the audiobook down, and just be for a few days, okay? You know, whether that be a day or sometimes a week. Pushing yourself to pick up that book, to try and read. You know, when you're forcing yourself, it feels like a chore and not like a hobby, and reading is supposed to be fun. So give yourself some time to want to pick a book back up. And you know what? Maybe it's just that book. So if you've tried out a few books and none of them are working, maybe it's time to step back. But if you try, maybe let's say on your third book, you're like, okay, this one is clicking, then stick with it. But otherwise, give yourself some time. It doesn't mean you're any less of a reader if you don't read a book for a week or even a month. Give yourself time. So tip number two is to reread a favorite book. So for me, something that I always go back to is the ACOTAR series. If I am just deep in the slumps, ACOTAR, it pulls me out. And you know what? If it's a reread, you can skip to your favorite part or skip to your favorite book. So like for me, I would just skip right to A Court of Mist and Fury because that is like my all-time favorite book. And it always just, I don't know, it's so comforting and you just feel so good. And even though it's a reread, you do still feel accomplished because, hey, I picked up a book and I read it. I got through it. And now it's inspired me to pick up more books. I have a few other books that for me personally, I will reread anytime that I am feeling a slump coming on or if I'm deep in a slump, just because, again, they're comforting for me for whatever reason that may be. Whether, actually, these are both series that I discovered when I first started reading romance, so maybe that's why. It just reminds me of why I started reading romance in the first place. So Bound by Honor by Cora Riley, the whole series, and then she has her Camorra Chronicles as well, Mafia romance, and these, I just flew through these as they were coming out. I don't remember I don't remember how many of them were out when I actually found this and started reading it, but I ate these up and I still eat them up if I just need something to read. And then the next books that I have, it's actually part of a series and it's a very large series, but really the first 4 books that started the series is what I turn to when I'm in a slump. And I think it's been quite a while since I've talked about these books on my channel. I think probably all the videos where I mention them are private now because I talked about them quite a bit, I think, when I first started my channel. But I'm always a little hesitant to recommend these and to talk about these because, and this is going to sound really bad, but they're just not the best written books that I have ever read in my life. They are very formulaic and the heroes are very alpha hero, and it's, I feel like a lot of people would hate these, but I eat them up, okay? I know what I'm getting every time I pick up one of her books, and I still read the series. Even though I don't necessarily always love them, they're quick for me to get through. They're just super quick. And again, it helps me get out of a slump. So the Until series, Until series by Aurora Rose Reynolds. So the first 4 books here, you have Until November, Until Trevor, Until Lily, and Until Nico. And then you have a spin-off of all of their kids. And like I said, I reread these constantly because I don't know what it is. They're comfort reads for me. Even though they're not the best reads, they're comfort reads. And that's what you need when you're in a slump, a comfort read. Now, kind of going off of this tip as well is to read a favorite trope of yours, whether you like student teacher, age gap, forbidden, mafia, surprise pregnancy, secret baby, read that. Find a new book in your favorite trope and read that. And hopefully that will also help you get out of a slump. So tip number 3 is try out a completely new genre. If you are a thriller reader, maybe try out a romance. If you are a romance reader, maybe try out a thriller or like a domestic thriller, something that still feels a little bit in your wheelhouse, but is just something a little different to spark enjoyment outside of the normal books that you're trying and that are just not working for you. For me, recently, you all know that has been historical fiction. So I tried out historical fiction earlier this year and I absolutely fell in love with the genre, and it really sparked a new just fire in me to read and discover all these books in this new genre that I have found a love for. So the first one that actually like really hit with me, The Things We Cannot Say by Kelly Rimmer. I will talk about this book for as long as people will let me. As long as you all do not get tired of hearing it from me, I will recommend this book because it was amazing. Amazing, okay? And then I have to recommend some Kristen Hanna. So we've got The Nightingale, World War II historical fiction. The Things We Cannot Say is also World War II historical fiction. And then we have The Women by Kristen Hanna. This is Vietnam War and about the nurses and the women who were in the war. All of these books made me sob and I could not put them down. Once I started them, I had to finish them. I had to know what was going to happen. I fell so in love with the characters and so in love with these stories. And these are like 3 of my new favorite books of all time. They are just incredible. So try out a new genre. And you know what? If you've never tried historical fiction, maybe try out historical fiction as well. A lot of these will have some sort of like a love story in them. So if you are a romance reader, I think it will really translate for you. I think you will find a love for historical fiction. Also, let me just grab Amy Harmon. Amy Harmon does a really good job of blending historical fiction and romance. So this one in particular from Sand and Ash is World War II historical fiction, and it is about a Jewish girl and a priest, and this is set in Italy. So kind of a little forbidden romance, but you know, in a war-struck Italy, and this was great. So yeah, dip your toes into a new genre. Maybe try high fantasy or just whatever genre that feels a little uncomfortable for you. Try it out. It might work for you. It may backfire, but you know what? At least you tried something new, okay? Tip number 4 that I have is to try out a different format of reading. If you usually read on your Kindle, maybe try reading a physical book. Or if you usually read on your Kindle and a physical book, maybe try an audiobook. That way you can still feel like you're getting things done around the house. Like you can, you know, fold laundry, you can do the dishes, you can clean, you can go for a walk and still listen to a book. One of my favorites that I will recommend is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This audiobook is incredible. There's a full cast of characters and it's a page turner. It's set in the, I believe, 60s. Yeah, I think this is set in the 60s. It follows a band and their downfall. And this really good book. A lot of people really love this audiobook and they will recommend it. But if you don't normally read audiobooks, maybe try it out. I didn't think I was an audiobook girly until a few years ago, and now it's just completely changed the game for me. And it will help you read just more in general because you can do things. You can feel productive while you're listening to a book. So change up your format, try different things. So tip number 5, which is going to be the last tip that I have before I get into some recommendations. This is one that doesn't really work for me, but I think it might work for some of you, which is read a shorter book or a novella. I don't typically read novellas. They don't really hit with me, and unless it's a novella that is connected to a book that I've already read or it's like part of a series, I won't read it just because I typically don't rate them any more than like 3 stars. But I know that novellas work for a lot of people. It makes them feel like they're just flying through books. And again, being productive, which will motivate you to read more. And some of the popular novella authors that I have just heard of is Jessica Cain. I think Christina C. Jones does a lot. Who else? QB Tyler. She's not a novella author, but she does a lot of really short books, and they're like smutty. So if that's your jam, you can read her. Jessica Kane, I've never really read her either, but people really like her. I hear her books are just wild. So maybe give them a go. I don't really know any more recs for that, but I'm sure you can find some on YouTube somewhere, Instagram, even just Google, and I'm sure like a Goodreads page will pop up. So yeah, if you typically are like reading some hefty fantasies or big romances, try something shorter. So now we're going to get into the recommendations that I have. So we're going to start out with thrillers, because I think thrillers honestly are one of the best things to get you out of a slump, because they're going to be fast paced. There's going to be a mystery, something to keep you going, because I have to figure out what is happening, who did this, how did it happen, what's going to happen to our main characters, and it just drives you to keep reading. So really any Frida McFadden book that you could pick up, I think you'll have a good time with. I've seen her books be referred to as popcorn reads, popcorn thrillers. If you are a kind of avid thriller reader, they may not be the most shocking thing to you, but they are fun, okay? You pick up one of her books and you don't want to put it down because you need to know what happens. Are they the most realistic thing in the world? No, but you're gonna have fun. And that's really important when you're trying to get out of a slump. Then I have two books that will just kind of shock you and you will be a little disturbed, but you still have to keep reading. Like, it's like a train wreck that you can't look away from. And they both involve children. Okay, so The Push, I actually recommended this in my summer like beach reads, which it's a little weird to be sitting and reading this at the beach, but I think it, like beach reads and trying to get out of a slump, I think those kind of go hand in hand, because you want something quick, something you're not going to be able to stop reading, and that is The Push by Ashley Audrain. This follows a mother who is struggling to bond with her child, and some of the things that happened in here, again, jaw on the floor. And then same thing, The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry. So this one follows a husband and wife who both work at a hospital, and this child comes in. She does not have any family. She's been like very malnourished, abused, and so they decide to adopt her. But this little girl ends up really bonding with the husband and not the mother. And so the mother, or the wife, thinks that this little girl has it out for her. And again, jaw on the floor. I could not stop reading these because it's just, they are wild. A wild time. And the next thriller that I'm going to recommend is Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. This one, super short, super fast paced. It follows a local woman who has gone missing and the neighborhood and different people in the neighborhood and kind of what they think happened and how it all comes together. And this one, I did not see the twist coming, so I would give this one a shot if you haven't read it already. So my next category of recommendations is going to be popular books. Books that multiple people have read and loved. So popular books, they hit for a reason, okay? People like these because they truly are good. And I think these also would be recommended for people who are like just trying to get into reading. And I think just trying to get into reading and slumps, they kind of go together, okay? And you're going to recommend the popular books. So if you have not picked up like a super popular book and you're in a slump, try a popular book, because again, they hit for a reason. They work for a lot of people because they're just that good. So some of my recommendations would be Taylor Jenkins Reid. Really anything that she writes, people love, particularly The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, or again, Daisy Jones and the Six. People love these. There is actually a TV show of Daisy Jones and the Six now as well, so you can read the book and then watch the TV show. Or if you've watched the TV show and you want to get into reading, maybe try the book, but try the audio. And then Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This follows a woman who is telling her life's story. She was a very popular actress in the 50s and she had 7 husbands. And then we have Miss Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer. This book is incredible, incredible, and yours truly. So these are her 2 newest releases, and for whatever reason you have not read them, please do it. Do it, okay? These work for so many people because they definitely toe the line of women's fiction and romance. And I think that works for a lot of people because some people are really scared when you say, oh, this is a romance. They think it's going to be just full of sex. And that's not always the case. And it's just not going to be anything deeper. So definitely, if you're not typically a romance reader, Abby Jimenez. Her books really just do a great job of blending romance with really getting to know the characters really deeply and, you know, mental health. It deals with grief. There's a lot of things that she puts into her books and they just work so well. So definitely, if you haven't read Abby Jimenez, do it. And then another very popular author is going to be Emily Henry. So I have People We Meet on Vacation, this Friends to Lovers, such a fun read, but also deals with some like heavy topics as well. And then we have her newest release, which is Funny Story. So much like Abby Jimenez, these really toe the line between women's fiction and romance, but again, deals with grief, heavy topics, and you just really fall in love with her characters. You will be laughing out loud. You will be swooning. You will be crying. They're just so fun and like they feel like such comfort reads. And I feel like these are books, once you read them, if you haven't read them, you're going to want to like keep reading them like once every year or once every few years because they just make you feel good. And then I know there's a lot of people might have thoughts about this, okay? Because she's a very sort of polarizing author, but you cannot deny that Colleen Hoover's books, once you pick them up, you cannot put them down. Her writing is so easy to get through, okay? It sucks you in, and her stories they're good. I like Colleen Hoover, okay? I like her. I'm not a hater. I think it's just become popular to be a Colleen Hoover hater, but I have read pretty much every book that she has ever published. Verity is definitely one of my favorites by her. This, I think, gets a little genred sometimes. Some people will put this as a romance, like a dark romance. No, this is more of like it's definitely suspense, but there is a little bit of romance in here. It's just, this book is wild. Again, this had my jaw on the floor because the end, what? So yeah, really any Colleen Hoover book that you pick up, you're gonna fly through. And then another popular author and another popular series is going to be the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver. So the first book is Flawless. My personal favorite, you all know, is Heartless, which is book 2. These books are hyped for a reason. There are a lot of different tropes within these 5 books that are in the series that I think will hit with everyone, especially if you are a romance reader. They're small town comfort reads filled with really good banter and really good heroes. So if you haven't, for some reason, if you haven't picked up the Chestnut Springs series, read them. People love them for a reason. And lastly, for some book recs, I'm going to talk about some books that personally got me out of a reading slump. So these are not books that I have reread. These were new to me books that I just picked up and tried and fell in love with them, and then they helped me get out of a reading slump. So the first 2 are going to be newer releases. So we have The Surrogate by Penelope Ward. I devoured this book. I think I read this book in less than a day. It is following a surrogate. So our hero in here, Sig, his wife passed, but before she passed, she actually froze her eggs. And at the beginning of this book, his in-laws come to him and say, we want to use these eggs. We want to find someone to be a surrogate and have our daughter's baby, so we have that little piece of her. And so we are following him and then the woman who is chosen to be the surrogate, which is Abby, and how they don't really get off on the right foot, but they're very attracted to each other. Such good banter in here, and the way that Sig at the beginning of this book is so just shut off from the world. But Abby brings him out of it, and like underneath you can tell he really cares about people, and he's just got a heart of gold, but it's just hidden behind a lot of hurt, and he's just trying to protect himself because he doesn't want to lose someone again. And I loved this book, devoured it. And then the next one that I have is Learn Your Lesson by Candy Steiner. This is her newest release, and this is book 3 in the Kings of Ice series. This is a single father nanny kind of lessons in seduction. Maybe not lessons in seduction, but he's like, he's teaching her things, okay? So his daughter's teacher actually moves in with them and becomes the nanny because he doesn't have anyone else to do it. And he's struggled to find someone to help because he is a pro hockey player. He is the goalie. Yes, the goalie for the Tampa Bay Osprey, I think is the team. And again, like Sig from The Surrogate, Daddy P, Will Perry, he is so closed off. And a lot of that is really rubbing onto his daughter. And so Chloe comes in, who is our heroine, and she flips their world upside down. She gives them everything that they need and brings so much joy and life back into their lives. And I adored this book. And then I'm going to talk about, these are still like newer books, but they've come out within the last few years. Caught Up and The Right Move by Liz Tomford. These are what romance books should be, okay? Caught Up, oh, this is one of my favorite books. Actually, both of these were on my favorites of 2023, and they are very popular and for a good reason, okay? She knows how to write a hero. She knows how to write a romance. Caught Up is a single dad, baseball player, Kai Rhodes. He will melt your heart. He will melt your heart. And then you have Ryan Shea, okay? He falls head over heels for Indy, will do anything for Indy. Love this book. Love, actually both of these books are so freaking good. They're so good. They're a little bit on the longer side, but again, once you get into them, you're not really gonna feel like you're reading such a long book because you're just gonna fall in love with the story and the characters. So that is all for this video. I feel like none of that made sense. I feel like I was just rambling on. I'm probably gonna hate myself when I go to edit this, but hopefully you all found it helpful. Hopefully you gained something from this. Hopefully I can edit it in a way that makes sense. Fingers crossed, please. But yeah, if you've made it to this point in the video and you'd like to let me know, leave me a thumbs up emoji, because thumbs up to getting out of reading slumps, right? I don't know. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.